subject. What are we looking at tonight, Mark, on our third subject?
Cell phone subsidies.
Wait a minute. Are you talking about life assistance?
Yeah, life assistance. And apparently 41%, or 6 million of the recipients, were ineligible for the $2.2 billion program. Now, this program, 4 years ago, was like 800 million. Now it's 2.2 billion.
That seems like a big increase.
A big increase, but then when you look at it, 41% of them, when they looked at it, shouldn't be having it. So it seems like most of the increase that's happened
is illegal use.
Was, ineligible.
Unauthorized.
Ineligible.
Well, you know, Mark, in preparation for the show tonight, I actually went on to the website that provides life assistant applications.
Right.
And remarkably enough, James Barrett, that, you know, I would like to think that I'm not in dire need of a free cell phone. I could sign up for a cell phone and get a cell phone, and then they mail you a cell phone. And there's absolutely no really check to see, do you need one? Do you qualify for one? And it's effectively, they give you a cell phone, they give you minutes, and then they give you discretionary minutes you can buy for lesser costs than any normal people can buy minutes. You know, I find the whole program kind of odd.
Well, they did a little bit of investigating on it, some of the state agencies, and they said, well, you know, looked like people were signing up multiple times. So people were getting more than what people were getting more.
If you want to sell your phone, you can sign up more than once.
I wouldn't call it selling, probably sharing.
Oh,
they're sharing. They're sharing. Okay.
Yes.
And they also looked at it, and they thought some of these cell phone companies, the amount of people they were signing up, they said it's mathematically impossible to sign up so many people so quickly. You just can't do it. But they had some pretty ingenious ways of signing people up. First of all, they would sell them, I mean, unsolicited phones. They just mail them out.
Well, that's the whole point, because here's the thing. But here's the question. If these are homeless and people that don't have anywhere to live, where are they mailing these cell phones to?
Well, the people,
do we have any way to track where they're going?
Well, they did track some of them. A lot of them, they would go to hospital rooms, sign people up in hospital rooms that needed a phone. They just mail them out to a whole bunch of people.
I understand they mailed some to prisons.
I don't know about that.
And you're not even allowed to have a phone in a prison. Why would a phone go to Sing Sing? Why would a phone go to San Quentin? Why would a phone go to Alcatraz that was open? I don't understand any of that.
Well, I mean, on the other hand, you know, it's really hard to get a payphone nowadays. There's no payphones.
Well, they took all those out.
Yeah, so
because they couldn't tap them.
And it does make sense that, you know, you want to have a cell phone. I mean, and it would be hard for people to get along in the modern world without a cell phone. And you got to admit that.
It would be very difficult.
You got to admit that.
But see, you know what? Are they using these cell phones? Is there any mandate that you have to use a cell phone to get a job, to be able to seek employment, not receive welfare, not receive food stamps? Is there any quid pro quo where you're supposed to be able to get a cell phone to help yourself rise above your station in life? Is that part of the deal?
No, there's no deal. But the thing is, they're just handing out the cell phone.
Who's paying for this?
Well, the $2.2 billion program is coming out of the, which is interesting because we're talking about the $85 billion sequester, and this is basically, whatever, 40th of that sequester is the $2.2 billion. Turns out half of it's all fraud.
And if half of it's fraud, there's $1 billion right off the top. And then we don't have to close the White House to the children that want to tour the White House during their summer vacations, right?
Right. And then you still wouldn't be able to hire back the teachers and the firefighters that didn't work for you. That didn't work for you in the first place. But
I don't understand that.
That's kind of tricky.
But let's go back to the cell phones, because the cell phone fraud, I understand, is approaching 50% of the program generally.
41%.
But
6 million.
I know the program must be helping some people. Does it help the seniors?
Well, I think it's good that they do provide cell phones to people, because it's really hard to get along without one now.
I understand
and also,
that. But
landline,
is there a balance? Do you look at the income of the individuals that get those cell phones to determine whether or not that person should even have a free cell phone?
Well, most of the people that dropped out, they didn't respond to the survey, you know.
Oh, the survey.
The survey.
Are you telling me there was a survey that asked you whether or not you really need a free cell phone?
Yeah, well, you would get the phone, and then they, you know, at a certain point they said, you know, why are you really eligible? So they did not respond to the eligibility checks.
Oh, well, that's
when they got.
But see, they didn't have time. They didn't have time because they were too busy worried about, did they get their EBT card for their food stamps, or did they get the free extra minutes for the cell phone? I'm a little bit. I have a lot of bit of caution that I'd like to pose for this life assistance program. I think there needs to be a little more investigation of the fraud.
Comes to, you know, the users pay about $10 a month, You know, that's quite a bit
Where's
better.
that money coming from?
Well, that's part of the 2.2
Is
billion.
that part of the grant? You get $10 a month to pay for the free cell phone?
Yeah, the phone pays for itself. They don't give you the money and then you.
How's the phone pay for itself?
I mean, you've got the phone and it just works. You know.
Well, I understand.
No, I guess they do pay. They do pay about $10 a month, but it's subsidized.
Oh, it's subsidized.
It's subsidized.
Is it like $8 is get paid by your local county?
Well, maybe what you pay for $10 might be worth $50 or $60 to most other folks.
I see. But who pays for the minutes?
Well, I would say it's a subsidized payment. So,
well, if I put my my iPhone on there, would I get my $10 a month for free to pay for my whole iPhone?
I don't see why not.
Why not? What kind of phones do they give? Do they give them Droids, Android?
Verizon.
Do they give them iPhones?
I think they're basic phones.
A basic phone. What's a basic phone now? Does it take pictures?
Oh, all phones take pictures.
They all take pictures.
Yeah. They all
do they text?
I'm sure they all text.
They all text, and they get free minutes. So I got a question. Couldn't they go out and start their own business with this?
I don't know if they, but the thing is, they may not get Game Boy.
Oh, they might not have the games.
Yeah, you might have a thing.
But what do you do in your free time?
Yeah, so that's the thing. You know, that's probably the biggest travesty of this whole thing.
The travesty is they don't get free games.
They don't get.
Minecraft.
They don't get. They don't get
Minecraft.
No accessories.
No Pop Tropica.
No apps. Nothing.
No apps.
So that's something they ought to look at.
No Raz Kids.
And probably if they gave them all apps and everything, and they paid for the apps, you could take this $2.2 billion program and run it up to 50 or 100 billion.
Well, wait a minute. That means if I want to develop a new app just for the homeless with a cell phone, that would actually be a profitable venture then.
Yeah, right.
Especially if that many people are getting free cell phones.
Well, if 41% is 6 million, then you know the total is probably 14 million.
Did you get a new free cell phone through Life Assistance?
No, I didn't. But
Did you apply?
But for 14 million people are getting them, and so that's just going to go up. So it's and then when they said, well, why wasn't this a little more regulated? How did this happen? They said, well, we're still using landline technology.
Landline technology. I don't know about that.
To check for eligibility.
I don't know if you noticed as you walk down the street these days, you got to look out for the people texting and bumping and grinding and looking for their apps and their videos. And I got to tell you, it's a total circus out there with people with their cell phones. And now the phones are going to get bigger, and pretty soon you can watch movies as you're walking along. I want to text in between this scene, and I'll text over here, and
you can already watch movies.
I know. But I'm talking about, do you get to do that on the Life Assistance cell phone?
Well, I think it's discrimination if you don't.
I think, you know what? Yeah. I think it's discrimination if you don't get big screen TV. You don't have your Porsche on the driveway, and if you don't get that Learjet, you get to fly at least once a year for your family to Hawaii. Where is that program?
That's coming. I'm sure it's coming. I'm sure
what are they going to call that one?
I'm sure that's on
Vacation assistance? It could be. But let's go back to Life Assistance for a minute. I understand the major cell phone company that's producing this is the richest person in Mexico, who's actually one of a top bundler and good friend of the president, who's actually has the largest contract on this. He has almost 50% of this contract. Yeah, so
I don't know
how does that
that
play into this?
I didn't read that.
You didn't read that part?
I didn't read that part.
Oh,
no,
you didn't read that part.
But there are 4 or 5 different companies that are into this pretty heavily, and they're having a little trouble. Some of them explaining.
So who's paying them to provide the free cell phone?
Well, it's all paid by the federal government.
All paid by the federal government. Who is providing the money for the federal government?
It's the government's
It's
money.
out of nowhere.
No, it's the government's
money. Government earns the money, right?
No, the government owns everything.
Oh, they own everything.
And then sometimes people are silly enough to think that when they create wealth, that they've earned stuff. But that's just an illusion.
Wait a minute. Are we living in a fiefdom?
Because that's
Is it a fiefdom right now?
It's an
Am I in the Shire?
Because you can't earn what can never be yours. The government owns everything.
That's right. I forgot.
There's no private property.
I did forget that.
Yeah, you forgot about that.
In fact, that's the new government.
That's just the way it is.
But anyway, let's go back to the cell phones. Why should people get free cell phones? I don't understand. This question has not been answered. Why do people get free cell phones?
Because they're needy.
They're needy of what?
They're needy of cell phones.
They got to be texting?
Well, I'm saying there's generally people who are on, food stamp subsistence or assistance, which aren't really food stamps anymore. Now it's a credit card or
it's a debit card.
Yeah,
you don't want to be embarrassed. Heaven forbid you use food stamps in an old food stamp method.
Yeah, so they don't have that.
Now it's a debit card.
So that was supposed to be equated by that, but when they just started sending them out unsolicited,
okay, wait a minute.
They weren't checking for anything.
We're not done with this yet because the cell phone issue is very important to me. Why do people need cell phones that don't have a job is it about they need to communicate anyway? I can get
what,
that
what
part,
if they
but
have
where
to,
does it go from there?
What if they have a sick family member they have to call?
All right, well, I'll tell you, on a sick family member, I hate to run away on a sick family member, but I think it's where we have to run away tonight. And I got to tell you, I really appreciate coming to our table so we could share some information with you tonight on Law Talk.
Well,